Rain drizzled down the cracked sidewalks of downtown. Puddles rippled beneath flickering street lamps as the sky shifted from gray to ink blue. Through the curtain of drizzle, the soft glow of a bakery window pulsed like a promise, Sweet Haven Bakery. Its neon sign buzzed, half the letters dimmed, yet the light that escaped through the foggy glass was golden and alive. Inside, laughter. The scent of sugar and fresh bread drifted out every time someone opened the door. But outside, on the wet curb, her shoes darkened by rain, stood Maya Carter, 7 years old, small for her age, her coat too thin to fight the cold. Her nose pressed to the glass, leaving a foggy circle that blurred her reflection. Behind that glass sat a cake, not just any cake. A perfect, three-tier vanilla creation, white frosting rippled like silk, lined with strawberries and gold-dusted sugar pearls. In bright pink icing, the words, "Happy birthday, Mom." Maya's wide brown eyes shimmered with a mix of hope and longing. She pressed a small hand into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Inside, 5 crumpled dollar bills. She counted softly under her breath, voice trembling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Her lips tightened. Maybe tomorrow. The reflection of the cake glowed in her eyes, a distant dream behind glass. A couple walked past, sharing an umbrella, their laughter swallowed by the sound of tires on wet pavement. The doorbell above the bakery door jingled. A warm wave of air rolled over her, carrying the smell of sugar and cinnamon. She took a deep breath, heart thumping, and pushed the door open. Inside, the world felt different, warmer, brighter, alive with sweetness. Shelves of pastries gleamed beneath soft yellow lights, eclairs, donuts, cookies dusted with powdered sugar. Behind the counter stood Mr. Jenkins, the baker, a round man with flour on his sleeves and kindness in his eyes. He looked up as Maya entered, water dripping from her hood onto the floor. "Well, hey there, sweetheart," he said, wiping his hands. "You lost your way in the rain." Maya shook her head quickly. "No, sir. I'm here to buy a cake." His brows lifted in surprise, but he smiled. "Well, you came to the right place. Whose birthday are we celebrating?" She pointed shyly to the display. "That one, the one with the pink letters. It's for my mom. She's never had a birthday cake before." The baker's smile softened, then faltered slightly when his eyes landed on the cake she pointed to. "That one?" He hesitated. "Honey, that's a custom cake. $45. Maya opened her fist. 5 damp bills clung to her small palm. Her voice barely carried over the hum of the refrigerator. "I have 5. For a moment, the bakery went still. The rain outside grew louder. Mr. Jenkins sighed, the kind of sigh heavy with the wish that kindness could stretch further than policy. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," he said gently. "I wish I could, but that cake's already priced. Maybe something smaller." He pointed to a tray of cupcakes, but Maya didn't look. Her eyes stayed fixed on the 3-tier cake, the one with her mother's name. She nodded slowly, folding her money back into her coat pocket. "It's okay," she said softly, forcing a small smile. "Thank you anyway." The doorbell jingled as she left. Outside, the rain met her again, heavier now. Behind her, laughter bubbled from a young couple ordering 2 slices of cheesecake. The baker's voice faded behind the closing door, "Come again soon." Maya stood still for a moment under the awning. Her small reflection wavered in the glass. Inside, the cake stood untouched, perfect, waiting for someone else. The rain had turned mean now, sharp, cold, unrelenting. Maya clutched her coat tighter, shielding the folded bills in her pocket as if they were treasure. Streetlights blurred through the rain, turning the world into streaks of gold and gray. Her shoes squeaked against the wet pavement. She passed a billboard near the corner store, a bright, smiling family gathered around a glowing cake. In bold letters, Because everyone deserves a celebration. Maya stopped, staring at it. Her lips trembled. She whispered, almost to herself. Then why can't we? The camera of imagination follows her tiny frame through the quiet streets, passing neon reflections in puddles, flickering signs, a stray cat darting into an alley. Her small figure looked fragile against the city's indifference. She whispered softly as if narrating her own thoughts. Mom works so hard. She never buys things for herself. She says someday we'll celebrate, but someday never comes. She paused under a flickering streetlight, staring at her reflection in a rain puddle. Her voice broke. I just wanted her to smile. She sniffled, wiped her cheek with her sleeve, and kept walking, tiny feet echoing in the dark. The sound of tires slicing through water cut through the silence. A black luxury car sped down the narrow lane, its headlights blazing through the mist. Maya stepped back quickly, shielding her face from the splash of rainwater. The car slowed near the bakery, almost hesitating. Through the tinted window, the faint outline of a man could be seen, mid-40s, wearing a suit, phone pressed to his ear. He glanced briefly at the little girl walking away, then at the glowing bakery sign behind her. The light turned green. The car rolled forward, tires whispering against wet asphalt. Maya never looked back. She just kept walking, small figure disappearing into the drizzle, the soft hum of the city swallowing her steps. But fate had already taken notice. Inside that black car was Michael Lawson, the man whose path was about to cross hers in the most unexpected way. The next morning, the rain had stopped, but the sky still carried the color of ash. City streets glistened as if the night had been crying. Cars honked, buses hissed to stops, and commuters rushed toward their routines. In the middle of it all, a sleek black sedan rolled to the curb in front of Sweet Haven Bakery. The driver stepped out, opening the rear door. From the shadowed interior emerged Michael Lawson, 48, tall, composed, and dressed in an immaculate navy suit. His shoes never touched puddles. His voice, low and calm, carried authority as he spoke into a wireless earpiece. Tell the board we'll push the acquisition to next quarter, he said. And I don't want sentimentality in the proposal. Numbers, not emotions. He ended the call, slipping the phone into his coat pocket. His expression was unreadable, the kind of face that had learned to hide behind balance sheets and boardrooms. As he stepped onto the sidewalk, something caught his eye, a small set of footprints pressed into the damp pavement leading to the bakery door. Tiny. Childlike. He looked up at the window, where a faint smudge still marked the glass, the same circle where Maya's nose had been pressed the night before. Through the window, he saw the cake. Perfect. Untouched. Waiting. The doorbell jingled as he stepped inside. The smell of sugar and yeast wrapped around him like a memory he hadn't asked for. Behind the counter, Mr. Jenkins smiled politely. Morning, sir. Looking for something sweet? Michael's gaze wandered toward the display, where the cake still stood under the warm light. But his eyes shifted to the window, to the small, smudged handprint on the glass. Did a little girl come in here yesterday? He asked. The baker blinked, surprised. Yes, small one, coat too big for her. Sweet kid. Wanted that birthday cake. Did she buy it? The baker's smile faltered. No. She only had a few dollars. Poor thing looked heartbroken. Michael's jaw tightened. He looked again at the cake, then back at the baker. Did she say who it was for? Her mother's birthday, the baker replied softly. Said her mom never had a cake before. For a moment, the world outside seemed to fade. Michael's hand brushed over the counter, tracing invisible patterns. He nodded once, distracted. Then, with a quiet breath, he said, if she comes back, keep that cake ready. Before the baker could respond, the bell above the door rang again. Michael stepped outside, and froze. Across the street, in front of a toy shop window, stood the same little girl. Maya. She was staring at a shelf of stuffed animals, her reflection mingling with theirs. Michael crossed the street slowly, as if afraid she might vanish if he moved too quickly. When he got close, he said softly, "Hey, shouldn't you be in school?" Maya startled, clutching the folded bills in her pocket. She turned around, wide-eyed. Her voice was cautious but polite. "School starts later today. I was just looking." He smiled faintly. "You were at the bakery last night." Her cheeks flushed. "You saw me?" "I saw someone standing in the rain," he said gently. "And I recognized the look on her face." "What look?" she asked. "The kind that says your heart's bigger than your wallet." Maya tilted her head, unsure whether to laugh or frown. She looked down, her voice small. "It's my mom's birthday. I wanted to get her a real cake this year. Not just candles on bread like last time." Michael's chest tightened. "Candles on bread?" She nodded. She said it's the thought that counts. "But I want her to have the kind with frosting, the pretty kind." He studied her, soaked coat, frayed cuffs, hope flickering like a candle in a storm. She wasn't begging. She wasn't even asking for help. She was just wishing. Something stirred in him, an ache that felt too familiar. He asked quietly, "What's her name?" "Angela," Maya said. "She works at the hospital. Night shifts." Michael nodded, words catching in his throat. "That's a beautiful name." As she spoke, something in Michael's memory uncoiled. A voice, laughter, a little girl no older than Maya, twirling in a sundress. "Daddy, look. I made it myself." A half-decorated cupcake, pink frosting uneven and messy. That voice belonged to Emma, his daughter. Gone 3 years now. He hadn't been home for her last birthday, he was signing a contract in Tokyo that night. By the time he flew back, the hospital bed was empty. Michael swallowed hard, the air suddenly heavy. He looked at Maya again, and it was like looking through time. The same innocence. The same eyes that once believed birthdays could fix everything. But he caught himself. Business instincts whispered, "Don't get involved. People will take advantage." He turned slightly, preparing to leave. "Listen," he said, his tone shifting, halfway between kindness and distance. "I'm sure your mother's proud of you. You don't need to worry about cakes." Maya frowned. "But birthdays are supposed to be happy." He paused. Something in her tone, the sincerity, the stubborn purity, stopped him mid-step. He turned back. "What flavor does your mom like?" "Vanilla," Maya answered instantly. "With strawberries." He smiled faintly. "Of course she does." He looked toward the bakery, mind already spinning. Logic said just buy the cake, hand it to her, walk away. But something deeper whispered, make it special. Make her believe the world can still surprise her. He crouched slightly, meeting her eye level. "Maya, right?" She nodded. "How about we play a little game?" Her eyes brightened. "What kind of game?" "A guessing game," he said, pretending to think. "If you win, maybe the bakery has a surprise for you." Maya hesitated. "What do I have to guess?" He pointed to the bakery window. "See those cupcakes? Guess how many sprinkles are on the one in the middle." She blinked, then squinted seriously. "That's hard." "Hard things make good rewards," he said with a grin. They crossed the street together. The baker looked up, startled to see Michael returning with Maya at his side. Michael leaned in, whispering quickly, "Play along. Let her guess. Pretend it's a contest. I'll handle it." Mr. Jenkins nodded, understanding instantly. Maya pressed her face to the glass again, counting aloud, her tiny finger tracing the sprinkles. 130, maybe 200. Mr. Jenkins laughed warmly. Well, I'll be. You got it almost right, sweetheart. And almost right means winner in this bakery. Maya's eyes widened. Really? The baker nodded. Really? Looks like we owe you a special treat. She looked at Michael, hesitant but thrilled. Did I really win? He smiled softly. Seems like luck found you today. Inside, the cake was boxed carefully, pink ribbon tied neatly across the top. Mr. Jenkins slipped a small note beneath it, "Happy birthday, Angela." Michael paid discreetly while Maya admired a jar of lollipops. No one mentioned money. When the baker handed her the box, her hands trembled. "It's so pretty," she whispered. Her reflection shimmered in the cake box plastic, a child seeing a dream come true. Michael knelt, his voice low and kind. "You know what makes birthdays special?" She shook her head. "They remind us that love doesn't need to be big to be beautiful. Sometimes, the smallest cake has the biggest meaning." She grinned, a real smile this time, wide and bright. "Thank you, Mr. He chuckled. "Just call me Michael." "Thank you, Mr. Michael." She hugged the box close to her chest and ran toward the street corner, where the rain had finally stopped and sunlight broke through the clouds. Michael watched her go, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. The streetlights glinted off the puddles, reflections of gold, silver, and something softer. He exhaled, whispering to himself. "Happy birthday, whoever you are." The midday sun broke through the last of the clouds, scattering puddles of light across the pavement. Sweet Haven Bakery hummed with the slow rhythm of a Tuesday afternoon. The air was thick with the scent of butter and sugar, warm, heavy, comforting. Maya stood by the counter, eyes wide as the baker set the cake gently inside a cardboard box. Her fingers barely reached the top of the counter, but her excitement filled the whole room. "You mean I really won?" she asked again, disbelief in her voice. Mr. Jenkins smiled kindly. "A promise is a promise, young lady. You guessed almost right. And in this bakery, that's close enough." Maya clapped her hands, her laughter light and bright, like bells. Behind her, Michael watched quietly. His expression was unreadable, part joy, part pain, like a man watching someone else live a moment he lost. He had slipped his credit card across the counter earlier without a word. The baker had nodded silently, understanding this was not a gesture meant for praise. Now, Michael leaned against the window, pretending to check his phone as Maya accepted the box like treasure. "Careful now," Mr. Jenkins said, handing her a small paper bag. "Got some candles in there too." "On the house." "Candles?" she gasped. "Oh wow, Mommy's never had those either." Michael smiled faintly, his gaze softening. "Then it's a double win." When Maya stepped outside, clutching the cake against her chest, Michael lingered by the register. Mr. Jenkins wiped his hands on his apron. "You didn't have to go through all that trouble, sir." Michael shook his head. She didn't need a handout. She needed a miracle she could believe she earned. The baker studied him for a moment, curiosity flickering in his eyes. "You've got kids?" Michael's throat tightened. "Had." The baker nodded quietly, the silence stretching between them heavy but respectful. "She reminds me of my daughter," Michael added softly. "Same eyes. Same, stubborn hope." Mr. Jenkins smiled sadly. "Kids have a way of teaching us what we forget." Michael exhaled slowly. "Yeah. They really do." He glanced toward the window. Maya was gone. Just a few damp footprints on the sidewalk remained. He turned to the baker. "If she comes back here, let her know I said, she played fair." Outside, the air had cleared. Maya walked through narrow streets, the box in her hands, careful not to let the ribbon untie. The cake felt warm through the cardboard, like it carried a heartbeat. Every few steps she peeked inside, making sure it was still perfect. The city around her didn't seem so gray anymore. People hurried past, umbrellas, briefcases, chatter, but Maya walked slower, savoring every second of her victory. Her thoughts ran wild. Mom's face when she sees this, she's going to cry. Maybe she'll even laugh. Maybe we'll light candles like in the movies. A passing car sent a gust of wind that fluttered her hair, but she didn't care. For the first time, she wasn't just wishing. She had something to give. She whispered, almost like a prayer, "Thank you, Mr. Michael." Back in the black sedan, Michael watched the city roll by through tinted glass. But the buildings, the noise, the people, they all faded beneath the hum of memory. His driver, Aaron, glanced at him through the mirror. "Everything all right, sir?" Michael didn't answer immediately. His eyes were distant, fixed on a child crossing the street with a paper box in her arms. Finally, he said quietly, "Tell me something, Aaron, when's the last time you saw a kid that happy over a cake?" Aaron chuckled. "Can't say I remember, sir. Maybe my niece's 5th birthday." Michael nodded slowly. When Emma turned 5, she wanted cupcakes. She said they were tiny smiles you could eat. The car grew quiet. Aaron lowered his gaze. "She'd be proud of you, sir." Michael smiled faintly, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "No. She'd tell me I'm late." At the same moment, Maya reached her apartment, a faded yellow building with cracked steps and peeling paint. She climbed them carefully, balancing the box like it was made of glass. Neighbors greeted her in passing. "Hey, little chef," one man said, grinning. "What ya got there?" "A surprise," she replied proudly. Inside the small apartment, the smell of detergent and old wood filled the air. She placed the cake on the table, stepped back, and smiled. Then she looked at the clock. 5:42 p.m. Mom would be home by 7. Plenty of time. She ran to the kitchen, grabbed a towel, and started cleaning. She wiped the table, swept the floor, even polished a single fork, the fancy fork, as Mom called it. All the while, she hummed a tune her mother used to sing, off-key, but filled with joy. In his penthouse across town, Michael poured himself a glass of water, staring at the skyline. The city lights flickered like stars too far away to touch. On his desk sat a photo frame, a young girl with curly hair and missing teeth, holding a cupcake with pink frosting. He hadn't moved that photo in years. He set the glass down and traced the edge of the frame with one finger. For the first time in months, he didn't feel anger, only ache. His phone buzzed. A message from his assistant. Reminder, charity gala at 8 p.m. Theme, the gift of giving. He stared at it, then typed back. Cancel my appearance. A pause. Then another message appeared. Understood, sir. Should I give a reason? Michael hesitated, then typed. Personal. He turned off the phone and looked toward the window. Somewhere, in a small apartment on the east side, a little girl was probably smiling. For reasons he couldn't explain, that thought brought peace. Back in the apartment, Maya placed 7 candles into the cake. She lit one to test it, watching the flame dance. She imagined her mom walking through the door, tired but smiling, and how she'd say, "For me. You shouldn't have." And Maya would answer proudly, "I won it. For real." She giggled to herself, clapping once. Then, she took a scrap of paper from the counter, the back of an old receipt, and wrote in her uneven handwriting. Happy birthday, Mommy. You work so hard. You are my favorite person. I love you forever. Maya. She slid the note under the cake box and stood back, admiring her masterpiece. In that small, dim room, the light from the single candle flickered softly, painting the walls in gold. Meanwhile, Michael stood by the window of his penthouse, still staring at the skyline. Below, the city lights formed a sea of flickers, countless stories unfolding at once. He whispered, almost to himself, "Happy birthday, whoever you are." Then, for the first time in years, he smiled without force. Not because of business, not because of victory, but because of something simple. Because kindness, quietly done, had filled a silence inside him he didn't know was still echoing. Night fell over the city. Rain clouds had drifted away, but the streets still glistened with leftover tears of the storm. High above the noise, in a penthouse built of glass and silence, Michael Lawson stood alone. His reflection stared back at him from the window, sharp suit, perfect tie, cold eyes. But in the reflection, he didn't see success. He saw absence. Behind him, the lights of his home burned too white, like hospital lights, sterile and hollow. He loosened his tie and walked toward a grand piano in the corner. Dust lined the keys. He pressed one note. It echoed weakly through the vast space, fading before it reached the far wall. On the piano sat a photo frame, a little girl, maybe 8 years old, wearing a flower crown and missing her 2 front teeth. Her name was Emma. His daughter. Michael picked up the frame. The glass was cool beneath his fingers. "She'd be 10 this year," he whispered. He sat down, still holding the frame, and exhaled slowly, the kind of sigh that empties you. A faint melody escaped his lips, the same lullaby Emma used to hum when she helped her mom bake cupcakes on Saturday mornings. The memory came in fragments. Sticky fingers dusted with flour. "Daddy, can you taste it?" His phone ringing, his voice saying, "Later, sweetheart." Daddy's busy. Later never came. He ran a thumb over the picture frame and muttered, "I missed everything that mattered." The silence of the penthouse felt heavier now. The cake, the child, the rain, they weren't random. They were reminders. He whispered to the empty room, "Maybe that's why I saw her." Across town, the world couldn't have looked more different. The Carter apartment was tiny, 1 bedroom, 1 kitchen, 1 flickering bulb, but tonight, it glowed with warmth. The door creaked open, and Angela Carter, Maya's mother, stepped in. She wore her hospital uniform, her shoulders slumped from a 12-hour shift. Her hands trembled as she hung up her bag, exhaustion written in every motion. Then she froze. On the small wooden table sat the cake, pink frosting, strawberries glistening under candlelight. And in front of it stood Maya, beaming, holding a single-lit candle in her hand. "Happy birthday, Mommy." Angela's hand flew to her mouth. "Maya. It's your birthday." Maya said proudly. "And I got you a real cake. Vanilla with strawberries, your favorite." Angela's eyes filled instantly. "Sweetheart, how did you?" "I won it." Maya interrupted quickly. "There was this man, and he made a guessing game at the bakery, and I guessed right, and they gave me this cake. For you." Angela knelt down, still in disbelief, tears mixing with laughter. "You won it?" "Aha." Maya nodded eagerly. "I told you one day we'd have a real birthday. Today is that day." Angela let out a shaky laugh, pulling Maya into a hug so tight the girl squeaked. "Oh, my angel," she whispered. "You didn't need to do this." "I wanted to," Maya said into her shoulder. "Because you never get anything for yourself. You always give to everyone else. Now it's your turn." The candles flickered. The tiny apartment felt alive with magic. Angela sat at the table, still half in her work clothes, eyes swollen with joy. Maya lit the candles carefully, all 7 of them, her little face glowing orange in the flame's reflection. "Make a wish, Mommy," she said. Angela smiled. "You go first, sweetie." Maya shook her head firmly. "No. It's your birthday." Angela closed her eyes. The camera, or viewer's mind, lingers on her face, tired yet beautiful, strong yet trembling. She whispers, "I wish, for my daughter to never lose her kindness." She blows out the candles. A soft cheer escapes Maya's lips. They cut the cake together. The knife squeaks against the cardboard base. Angela tastes the first bite, sweet, creamy, soft, and laughs through her tears. "It's perfect," she says. "Tastes like happiness." Maya grins. "It's vanilla. I remembered." Angela looks at her, touched. "You always remember." When they finish eating, Maya suddenly gasps. "Oh. I almost forgot." She runs to the counter and grabs the folded paper. "What's this?" Angela asks. "Open it," Maya says, bouncing on her toes. Angela unfolds the note, reading the messy handwriting aloud. "Happy birthday, Mommy. You work so hard. You are my favorite person. I love you forever. Maya." Angela covers her mouth, her eyes welling again. "Oh, Maya." She pulls her daughter close, holding her for a long time. "You have no idea how much this means to me," she whispers. Maya rests her head against her mother's chest, smiling softly. For the first time in a long time, laughter fills their little apartment. Cut to Michael sitting at his desk, swirling a glass of untouched scotch. Cut to Maya asleep in her mother's arms, the candle still smoking in the corner. Michael stares at the cake photo on his phone, the one he secretly took through the bakery window earlier. He zooms in on the words, "Happy birthday, Mom." He whispers, "Happy birthday, whoever you are." At that exact moment, Maya mumbles in her sleep, "Thank you, Mr. Michael." The narration bridges the two worlds. Two people, miles apart, connected by a single act of kindness neither of them could explain, or forget. Later that night, Michael sits on his couch, unable to sleep. He opens his laptop, an old folder titled Emma's Videos. A recording plays. A younger Michael sits at a table, business suit still on, his daughter Emma in front of a cupcake tower. "Daddy, hurry. Blow with me." He looks distracted in the video, phone pressed to his ear. "Go ahead, sweetheart, I'll join you in a minute." Emma giggles, puffing out her cheeks and blowing the candles alone. The frame freezes on her smile. Michael closes the laptop, overcome by guilt. He whispers, "I missed the wish." He stands, walks to the window, and looks out toward the east side of the city. Far away, fireworks bloom faintly over a neighborhood park, maybe a celebration, maybe just coincidence. He smiles sadly. "Maybe she made her wish anyway," he murmurs. Meanwhile, Angela cleans up the plates, humming softly, the same lullaby her mother once sang to her. She looks at Maya, asleep on the couch, frosting still on her chin. She speaks softly, almost as if talking to the universe. "Whoever helped her win that cake, thank you." Her eyes drift to the window, to the same sky Michael is staring at, different worlds, same stars. Morning breaks. Sunlight spills through both their windows, the same golden hue. Maya wakes first, stretching and yawning. She runs to the table to look at the leftover cake. A single slice remains. She smiles. "I'll save it for Mr. Michael," she whispers. Across town, Michael wakes with sunlight across his face, the first morning in years that doesn't feel empty. He pours coffee and looks out at the city below. A thought forms, quiet but certain. Find her. The city awoke in shades of pale gold. For once, Michael Lawson wasn't thinking about stock prices or board meetings. He sat at his kitchen island, sipping black coffee gone cold, staring at the skyline like it was a puzzle he'd finally decided to solve. On the counter beside him lay a small note card, the one his late daughter, Emma, once tucked into his briefcase. Her childish handwriting read, "Don't forget to smile today, Daddy." He touched the card, smiling faintly. A mother walking her son to school, an old man selling umbrellas, teenagers laughing under a leaky awning. It wasn't the world he usually saw from penthouse windows. It was real. Human. He murmured to himself, funny, all the money I've made, and I never thought to look here. Aaron glanced through the mirror. You sure about this, sir? Michael smiled. For the first time, yes. The building was old but tidy. The faint scent of detergent mixed with morning rain. Children's drawings were taped to the lobby walls, flowers, hearts, stick figures holding hands. Michael climbed the narrow stairs to the third floor, holding a small paper bag. Inside it, a fresh cake from Sweet Haven. Vanilla, with strawberries. He stopped outside apartment 3B. For a moment, he hesitated. He hadn't knocked on a stranger's door in years. Then, he took a breath and tapped gently. The door opened a crack. Angela Carter peeked through, cautious, tired, but polite. Yes. Good morning, Michael said softly. I'm sorry to intrude. I'm looking for Maya. Angela blinked. Maya? She won a cake at the bakery the other day. I was there. Angela's expression shifted from confusion to recognition. Oh, you're the man from the game. Michael nodded. Michael Lawson. Angela smiled faintly. I see. Please, come in. The apartment was small but filled with warmth, handmade curtains, drawings taped to the fridge, a vase of daisies on the table. The air smelled faintly of vanilla frosting. Maya sat at the table coloring. When she looked up and saw Michael, her eyes widened. Mr. Michael. Michael grinned. You remember me? Of course. You're the Sprinkle Game Man. Angela laughed softly. Sprinkle Game Man, huh? Michael chuckled. I suppose that's me. He handed Maya the paper bag. Brought you something. She opened it and gasped. Another cake. This one's smaller, he said. Thought you might like to share it. Maya looked up. Can we, Mommy? Angela smiled warmly. Only if our guest has a slice too. They sat around the tiny table, sipping tea from mismatched mugs. Maya chatted endlessly about her winning game, her school, and how she wanted to become a nurse like her mom. Angela watched her daughter talk, then turned to Michael. You made her weak, you know. She hasn't stopped smiling. Michael shook his head. She made mine. Angela tilted her head. You don't look like a man who plays bakery games often. He smiled ruefully. No. I don't. But, sometimes life gives you second chances to do what you should have done the first time. Angela's smile faded gently. You lost someone. He nodded. My daughter. 3 years ago. Silence filled the room, not awkward, but reverent. Angela reached across the table, resting a hand over his. I'm sorry. He nodded again, eyes lowered. She used to bake with her mom. I was always too busy to join. I thought success could make up for absence. It never did. Angela's eyes softened. We all carry something heavy, Mr. Lawson. What matters is what we do with it. Maya, oblivious to the heaviness, leaned forward with a grin. Mommy says people who help quietly are angels. Michael smiled faintly. Does she, now? Maya nodded seriously. She says angels don't have wings, they have hearts that remember how to care. He chuckled softly. Then maybe I'm learning from one. Maya tilted her head. You mean me? He winked. Exactly you. She giggled, delighted, and reached for another slice of cake. As the afternoon light poured through the window, Michael leaned back in his chair, listening to the simple sounds of home, the scrape of forks, the hum of laughter, the clink of teacups. He realized he hadn't heard this kind of peace in years. No noise, no deadlines, no meetings, just warmth. Angela looked at him quietly. You don't have to leave right away, you know. Michael smiled. I wasn't planning to. He glanced around the room again, small drawings, chipped mugs, laughter. And thought, this is what wealth was supposed to feel like. Later, as he stood to leave, Maya ran to the door. Will I see you again? She asked. Michael smiled gently. Would you like that? She nodded eagerly. You could come to my school play. I'm going to be a nurse. He chuckled. I wouldn't miss it. Angela walked him to the hallway. She really likes you, she said softly. I like her too, he admitted. She reminds me what matters. Angela studied him for a moment, then said quietly, you know, not many people come here just to be kind. Thank you for being different. He met her eyes, sincere, quiet, grateful. Maybe I'm just trying to be human again. They exchanged a small, knowing smile. As Michael walked back to the car, the sky broke open with sunlight. Children played near puddles, their laughter echoing down the street. He paused before getting in, watching them for a long time. Aaron, his driver, stepped out. Everything all right, sir? Michael nodded. Everything's more than all right. He looked back toward the building and whispered to himself. Maybe angels really don't have wings after all. Weeks had passed since that afternoon tea. The city had bloomed into early spring, cherry trees lining the sidewalks, sunlight bouncing off windows like laughter. Inside his office tower, Michael Lawson sat across from his board of directors. They were mid-presentation when his assistant cleared her throat. Sir. You asked for a few minutes at the end to make an announcement. Michael nodded. He stood slowly, buttoning his jacket, eyes scanning the room. For years, he began, we've measured success by what we build, towers, contracts, revenue. But lately, I've realized, we've built everything except meaning. The room went still. He continued, voice soft but clear. Starting this quarter, Lawson Group will fund a new foundation, Project Sweethearts. He paused, watching curiosity ripple through the faces around him. It's a partnership with local bakeries. Every month, we'll provide free birthday cakes to children from low-income families. Because no child should feel forgotten on their special day. A few murmurs spread. Someone asked, where did this idea come from, sir? Michael smiled faintly. A little girl reminded me that joy doesn't need to be expensive to be priceless. He sat down, ignoring the stunned silence. For the first time in years, he felt lighter, like a man who had finally remembered how to breathe. That evening, at the Carter apartment, Angela was folding laundry when the TV caught her ear. The reporter's voice carried over the hum of the old ceiling fan. Lawson Group's CEO announced a new community program today, a charity dedicated to providing free cakes for children in struggling families. The project is called Sweethearts, and it's already begun working with local bakeries. Angela froze, a t-shirt still in her hands. Maya looked up from her coloring book. Mommy? What's wrong? Angela smiled softly. Nothing, sweetheart. Just, listening. On screen, they showed a photo of Michael shaking hands with the Sweet Haven baker. A small caption read, inspired by a young girl's kindness. Maya gasped. That's Mr. Michael. Angela's eyes glistened. It sure is. Maya frowned thoughtfully. Do you think he remembered us? Angela touched her daughter's cheek. I think he'll never forget you. The event took place at the park near Maya's school. Long tables stretched beneath colorful streamers. Children ran barefoot through the grass. The smell of frosting and fresh bread filled the air. Angela and Maya arrived hand in hand, both dressed in pastel, Angela in soft blue, Maya in a pink dress with her hair braided neatly. As they entered, familiar laughter rippled through the crowd. Mr. Jenkins waved from behind a table stacked with cupcakes. "Look who's here, the champion cake winner." Maya giggled. "Hi, Mr. Jenkins." Angela looked around. "Do you think he'll come?" "I don't know," Maya said. "But I brought him something, just in case." She held up a small cupcake box tied with string. On top, in shaky handwriting, it read, "For Mr. Michael." Halfway through the celebration, a familiar black car rolled to a stop at the park's edge. Children pointed, whispers spreading, "It's him. The man from the news." Michael stepped out, no suit this time, just a simple shirt, sleeves rolled up, tie absent. He looked human. When Maya spotted him, her face lit up brighter than the sun. "Mr. Michael. You came." He smiled, a real, effortless smile. "Wouldn't miss it." She ran toward him, holding the small box. "I made you something." He knelt, accepting it gently. "You baked this?" "Mom helped," she said proudly. "It's vanilla. With strawberries." Michael's throat tightened. "My favorite," he whispered. Behind them, Angela approached with a warm smile. "You made quite the impact, Mr. Lawson." He looked at her, soft sunlight framing her face. And said sincerely, "You and your daughter reminded me what impact really means." The event blossomed into laughter and music. Kids ran around with frosting on their noses. Parents clapped. Balloons danced in the breeze. Michael walked among them, helping hand out cakes, laughing when children smeared icing on his sleeve. He wasn't the billionaire today. He was just a man at peace. Maya climbed onto the small stage where the mayor was thanking sponsors. When she spotted Michael in the crowd, she cupped her hands and shouted, "Mr. Michael. We saved you a slice." The crowd chuckled. He lifted his hand, calling back, "I'll be right there." Angela laughed. "Looks like you've got a fan club." He grinned. "The best kind." As the afternoon waned, children began lighting candles on their cakes. Michael stood near the edge of the crowd, watching them, hundreds of small flames glowing across the park like stars that had fallen to earth. Maya tugged at his sleeve. "I saved this one for someone special," she said, holding up a cupcake with a single candle. He knelt beside her. "Who's it for?" "For your little girl," she said simply. "You said she liked cupcakes." His breath caught. The world blurred for a second. He took the cupcake gently, eyes glistening. "Thank you, Maya," he whispered. "You don't know how much that means." Maya smiled. "Now she can have a birthday too." Michael closed his eyes, whispering, "Happy birthday, Emma." He lit the candle. The flame flickered, soft and steady. As dusk settled, Michael and Angela stood side by side, watching the candles flicker across the park. Children's laughter echoed through the twilight. Angela spoke quietly. "You know, sometimes I think the world forgets to slow down. But today, it remembered." Michael nodded. "That little girl of yours reminded it." Angela smiled. "She has that effect on people." He turned toward her, sincerity in his tone. "So do you." A gentle silence followed. The kind that doesn't need to be filled. In that moment, 3 lives, once strangers, stood under the same fading sky, connected by a single act of love that had changed them all. Weeks later, inside Sweet Haven Bakery, a new photo hangs on the wall. Maya, Angela, and Michael standing together, smiling, holding a vanilla cake with pink frosting. Below it, a handwritten quote. "Because everyone deserves a celebration. Project Sweethearts."